Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining me on this Monday evening. And yes, it is a late Monday evening, but it is for a very good reason. We will have Titan Upload on the show tonight. He is experiencing some technical difficulties at the moment, so we'll get him on as soon as possible. But it's great for everybody being in on this Monday. Sorry for the late show tonight. Once again, just wanted to make sure we get everybody in. But a lot of news, a lot of happenings going on. So everybody's starting to pile in. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the Power Hour. Bryce Pratt's on. Good seeing you, buddy. Our buddy Lou Mann's on the show as well. Good seeing you too. Definitely wanted to talk about the A.J. Brown situation going on before we jump into the top news going forward. And really along the lines, we knew that this was going to be a situation that was going to come up, especially with wide receivers getting these huge, hefty paydays. So more than likely it was going to happen. So I'm not surprised at A.J. Brown opting out, at not going in. It's really a situation a lot of veteran players do, especially other players that are in a contract year where they're trying to get an extension while they can. And we knew that John Robinson was working on this. So we will definitely talk about it a little more as the show goes on. But I encourage you, don't read too much into it. It's April. You know, I'm not going to stress over it, and you shouldn't be stressing over it. Really, it's just more along the line of just news. Take it for what it is. Don't oversell it. Don't overthink it. But as it goes, it's just a wait-and-see situation. Everything's going to happen and play out the way it needs to play out. So don't worry about it. Don't stress it. We'll get through it. That being said, I'm Michael Bishop. Welcome to the Power Hour. Let's go ahead and jump into our top news right now, hitting it on a little screen and getting going. So everybody, welcome to the show. And our first story of the day is the $100 million man. Yes, Denzel Ward, the very favorable cornerback from the Cleveland Browns, has been now made the highest paid cornerback in the league, topping it at $100.5 million, and will be guaranteed around $72 million guaranteed money. So as it's been estimated, the Cleveland Browns have now spent an estimated amount over $340 million. And they knew that they were going to have to bring in some talent, especially with Deshaun Watson, and keep the remaining talent that they have. And there's also reports out there right now that even Jadeveon Clowney is potentially going to be signed to a long-term deal there, potentially a 2-year deal. But it's really funny to me, especially that Cleveland's locking down all these positions, and they still have a lot to fill in with the draft. They still have a lot of questions on some of the other contracts that are coming up in the contract year. But I do think Cleveland did the smart thing at locking down their best corner, especially knowing that going into the draft, they're going to have to try and address a few positions. They're going to have to try and find a way to make a little more sense out of the draft. It's really going to be interesting to see what way they go. So along these lines, I think it sells a good narrative that they want to keep their secondary intact. I do think one of the options Cleveland has to do is try and bring in some more talent at receiver, especially if Jarvis Landry isn't going to come back, which reports are saying that he probably won't. So, you know, along those lines, Cleveland's got a lot of decisions to make, and they still have a few of their guys they need to sign. So it'll be interesting to see going forward what they're going to do with the amount of money that they have left, with the talent that they still have to try and lock down. Cleveland definitely did the right thing in locking Ward in here. I think he still has a lot of potential. I think you had to lock him down with this kind of deal. And in the future, I think it's very team-friendly, especially if they have to try and restructure it down the road. So Denzel Ward is now the highest paid cornerback in the league, and we'll see if he can earn every penny as he goes forward when the NFL season starts. Also in our news, it appears that Kavon Thebadu is basically starting to slip down the draft board. From what appears in reports, Dan Campbell's not very favorable about his work ethic and has really just said basically he's not a fan of the way he portrays himself on the field and basically the way that he would go about doing his business. It's already starting to leak in the media that apparently he just likes to play football, but he doesn't love to play football, I guess is what the best way to put it. So I'm not surprised that this report's come out. It's really interesting. You were starting to look at the draft and starting to picture which guys are going to go, which guys are going to start going up, which guys are going to start going down. And Thibodeau's been an interesting prospect here. I know a lot of guys either really like him or they really hate him. And really just the reason they hate him is just because of his work ethic. And along those lines, you have to know these guys are asked many questions. They're evaluated through film. They're evaluated through the people that they talk to and they've been around. So the NFL is not going to leave any stone unturned. The biggest concept here is, will he drop? Will his draft stock plummet when it comes time to draft him? And I guess the biggest question going forward on that is you have to think, there's a lot of teams that really need to get an edge rusher of his caliber. I think he has the talent. I think he's very much one of these guys that could potentially live up to a top 5 billing. So you really feel that it's one of these situations. I think with the right team, he'd work well. But going forward, it's always a situation where somebody's always going to drop for whatever reason. Thibodeau's just the very latest example right now. He could be in the news cycle right now. The next couple of days, it could be someone else. So that's just kind of how I see it. I still think he's a top 5 talent. I still think he'll probably go within the top 5 of the draft, potentially as high as 2, potentially as low as 6 even. But I don't think he's going to plummet completely out of the top 10. And if he does, I'd be shocked. And if he did, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other teams started trading up to get him. So is his work ethic going to be in question? Yes, it is right now, but that's just from one hearsay point. You also have to take in consideration Dan Campbell could just be putting this story out because he likes him and is hoping that teams stay away from him. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you hold the number 2 pick, but at the same time, maybe they're trying to trade. Maybe they're trying to get interest. Maybe they're trying to garner to see what they could pull in for him. It's not a bad idea. Is it what's happening? Hard to say. But I don't blame Dan Campbell if that's his approach. Sometimes if you're trying to sell something, you got to question it a little bit, but at the same time, what you may dislike, somebody else might like even more. So he's probably just playing coy. Maybe that's the situation, maybe not. But it's going to be interesting when draft day comes around. I guarantee you Thibodeau is definitely more than likely going to go in the top 5 of the draft. No question about it. He has the talent, and I can see him excelling. Speaking of other things going around in the NFL, it appears Baker Mayfield is wanting to basically just kind of sit down and point at people's other jobs and just kind of make fun of them, but I don't have much to say about that, but I do have something to say about the current situation he's in. Apparently, from a news report, it is being said that the Browns want to hold on to Baker Mayfield for until the draft hits, so maybe they could potentially get some late-round draft picks or potentially even a player in trade. So, will that happen? I don't know. The biggest question is, we've heard at least 2 teams that have come out that look like they have general interest in him. One being the Seahawks, one being the Panthers. Both teams could potentially work out for him. Potentially, it's a good situation. There are conflicting reports there, but I do think you have to look at the bigger picture. Can the Browns really get any kind of commodities for that kind of trade that they're looking? How high are they trying to get draft picks for? Are they potentially looking to get maybe a 3rd round, maybe a 2nd round? It's really hard to say right now. I don't think Mayfield has 1st round value if that's what anybody's trying to sell, and if the Browns are trying to do that, then that's just a ridiculous selling point. I do think for some teams, if you're willing to garner maybe a 4th round pick, maybe even a 3rd if you feel that he'd fit in your system, then I think you could go for it. Eventually, the Seahawks are very quarterback friendly. The Pete Carroll offense is very systematically built around a quarterback, but they still have other needs they have to address in the draft. So, especially with the lack of draft capital that they have currently, I don't think that it's a good investment on their part to be going after Baker Mayfield. Carolina, though, I do think they could make this work. It's just really a question of will he fit in there. And it's very interesting, especially with the fact that you have a lot of former players that Baker had worked with say that they're not very interested in having him there in Carolina. But I do feel that if any team could probably work well with Baker Mayfield, it possibly might be Carolina. I think that that's one of the better teams. And if there was a surprise dark horse team really out there, I'd have to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're not having to ask a lot from him. You're having to basically just have him sit behind Tom Brady and learn. And the Bucs are in a tricky position. They know they're going to need a quarterback eventually down the road. So what do? You're basically going to have to find somebody to fill in for Tom Brady eventually. Can Baker Mayfield be that player? Is it a long-term fix? Can he be a long-term fix? That's a really interesting question. I don't think he can't be, but I do think with the weapons around him, it could make him more viable. So along those lines, I think you really just look at that perception. You've got a guy that could potentially just fill in for Tom Brady when and if he decides to leave. So Tampa Bay would be a pretty nice fit. And looking on our little screen, it looks like we've got Titan Upload waiting to jump in on here, and I will go ahead and get him on. And we have him on the show. Let me introduce to you, everybody, one of our most popular YouTubers out there in the YouTube verse. Welcome into the show, Titan Upload.
Hey,
how are you doing today, sir?
Sorry I'm late. Like I said, we had washer issues, so never know when those things could go out. So we had to drain all the water, and now we got to figure out. It smelled like rubber, so I'm assuming it's shot and it's dead. But hey, thanks so much for the invite. Always a fun time to talk Titans.
Definitely, and we do apologize for the washer, and hopefully that'll be something that'll be a little bit fixed down the road. But as I told the audience, you definitely were having technical difficulties. So I promise you, that was not made up, folks.
Yeah, thanks again. So what's up?
Well, we're just running down our top news, and I'm just finishing up with Baker Mayfield, so I won't bore you with that.
Yeah. Gonna be a Titan?
I wouldn't recommend it. Not with the last couple of days we've had with quarterbacks and wide receivers, but we'll get to that down the road.
Yeah.
But speaking of quarterbacks, apparently the Arizona Cardinals are still trying to figure out a situation to work for both them and for their quarterback, Kyler Murray. It has been one that has just been a head-scratcher and potentially one that might get dragged on into training camp. So, Upload, I got to ask you, what's the situation with Arizona, and do you think that both them and Kyler Murray can come to a conclusion with this potential holdout?
Yeah, I think we're at a really different time in the NFL where I feel like the players are almost to the fashion where it's almost like trying to become the NBA in a certain way where players hold most of the leverage and really dictate what the teams can actually do, and they want situations to happen fast. I mean, if it wasn't for Deshaun Watson and that whole situation with his massages that he had going on, I mean, they probably would have dealt him last year. But, I mean, the Texans still got a pretty good haul for him. But at the end of the day, it's just I think this will end up working out. I just think there's, obviously he's not happy and looking for maybe trying to figure something out down there. But I do think, at least in Arizona, they'll figure out. I know that you just put up Baker Mayfield, but Seattle, you probably already mentioned, like Seattle seems to be the place.
Yes.
And Robbie Anderson doesn't want him in Carolina, so we'll have to see how that all play out.
But I do think it's interesting, especially with Kyler Murray deciding to just be the very next person to just come in and just pull one of these holdout situations. It always seems like with quarterbacks, the price is always going to go up for them. And in the case of Kyler Murray, what would you think that his value is? I wouldn't put him at an Aaron Rodgers price, but eventually you've got to keep moving the bar up.
Yeah, I mean, is he better? Like, you think we'd be better with him next year over Ryan Tannehill? I know, like, he's a mobile quarterback. Pretty good year this year. He played very well against us. He looked like Houdini out there, running for his life and then throwing darts. But he's got some pretty good wide receivers, and I know he lost one this year to Jacksonville. But for the most part, I think he's a middle of the road guy. I don't see him right now as a top 10 quarterback. Maybe that's me being stupid, but the only thing going for him is he's young and I think he's in a pretty innovative offense with their head coach down in Arizona. I don't know why he wants out, but like I said, if it's money, I mean that's hopefully he'll get what he thinks he's worth. But man, I saw some accounts earlier, like there's nowhere where he's worth 40, like you said, Aaron Rodgers money, $40 million a year. No way I'm paying that.
I mean, really, along the lines, you just have to look at his accomplishments. I mean, they've yet to win a division. They've yet to win any meaningful playoff game, and they're still trying to get their bearings. So, basically, if you're trying to put a price tag on him, I would say I'd potentially pay him around maybe 25 to 28 million a year. But that's just kind of a contract that I would put in place and basically put incentives in and to see if he could reach them. Would that be something you would want to do?
I mean, like I said, he's young, so he's definitely got that going for him. He's in the NFC. I think, honestly, in a situation like the NFC, I mean, the star heavy is definitely in the AFC at this point. So he made a good point. Like, he hasn't won a division. He has not done well, obviously. I mean, he had a good year this year. So it's just, are you beating the door down a little bit early if it's just about money, or is there something else rattling the cage, I think? And ultimately, luckily, it's not Tennessee. We don't really have to worry about it. But like I said, just keep him in the NFC, though. I wouldn't want to see him get traded like to the Colts next year or something like that. So, the Matt Ryan experience is definitely going to be a 1 or 2 year. I'm not looking for anything, out of the ordinary for the Colts. So just keep him in the NFC for me.
I don't think the Colts would have enough money going down the road anyway. You think after every year they're throwing away too much money, so eventually that's got to dry up at some point.
You would think.
The 6-1 exactly. The 615 podcast brings up a pretty good point. He'd give Kyler about 20-25 a year over 4 years, and I think that'd be fair. I mean, from contract standpoint, I have to look at what a player's accomplished. Have they won a division? Have they won against our rivals? And have they won playoff games? And Kyler's yet to do any of that. So moving forward, I think along those lines, an incentive-based contract would be the best way to go. But I'm not ready to pay him Aaron Rodgers money just yet.
Not even close.
And then on our final bit of news, and this is one that's got Titans Twitter just all up in a tizzy. A.J. Brown's contract comes up again, and potentially he will not be joining any of the voluntary, and yes, I say voluntary, workouts at this point until hopefully a new contract is settled. And Upload, I'll just go ahead and let you take it from there. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like this situation's been escalated. I know I came out with a video with him going to the Jets. Of course, if you watched the video, you would know I wasn't like being serious with that. I was being a little sarcastic. But, I mean, there's definitely, he wants to get paid. And he deserves to be paid. I mean, that's the bummer of him going in the second round and not having him go towards the end of the first round where we could have got that fifth-year option for him. And that's why I think that pick 26 this year for the Titans is something we definitely got to look at. We're in a nice position there, end of the first round. Be like Lamar Jackson going to the Ravens like at pick 32, and you still get that fifth-year option, and it's not like breaking the bank. So when it comes to AJ, he's got the same agent as Debo's, out in San Francisco. So this is definitely, they're all in this thing together. And I'd love to see like who's been going after him on Twitter, because he definitely came out of the post today. He wasn't happy about it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I've not been on Twitter too much today, but I have not seen anything really blow up in my eye. Have you seen anything when it came to that?
Really, along the lines, I think it's possibly just, for somebody that's on Twitter a lot, it's possibly somebody sent something and it just rubbed him the wrong way. I don't think it was anything that was team oriented or anything that had something to do with coaches or ownership. I think he's just frustrated with it, and I think there's some people that are venting and he's hearing from it every day because he's very active on social media. So I would say that that's probably what that came from.
Yeah. But I'd love to have him. I mean, it seems like they're working out a deal and they'll figure it out. But I hope we all know, like, it's part of the territory being good. Some of these guys are going to break the bank, and it's really going to hurt you cap-wise in the future. And all those people, like I said last year, who wanted them to, restructure Tannehill. Now you see how that why J-Rob's kind of reluctant to do that all the time, because it really does put you in a very difficult and when it comes to the cap.
And there's still plenty of time to get something worked out. I mean, the fact that he's not showing up to the voluntary workouts, that's something most veteran players do anyway at this point. So it doesn't shock me, and it shouldn't surprise everyone else. But from the way that Twitter's acting, it just feels like the world's falling apart for him.
Why aren't they more mad at Ryan Tannehill? He didn't show up either, did he?
He did not, and
he's the highest paid quarterback per season this year, is he? I think he is.
For this season, he is.
So where's he at?
I mean, I don't have a problem with veteran players that don't show up to these things. It's in the title. It's voluntary. They're not losing money. If they want to show up, they can show up. This is more along for the guys that are recovering from injuries, or newer traded guys that are getting in and learning the playbook and learning the facility. That's what it's for. It's not for these veteran guys that have been in the league 10 or 12 years. If Tannehill's not at these things, don't lose sleep over it.
Hey, A.J. Brown wasn't there, but do you know who was there today?
There was quite a few people, but do tell me.
Mason Kinsey was there, so.
That's right, your boy Mason Kinsey. He's been busy online getting some of them videos up. He's looked good too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him, and I think it's all going to work out for him this year. So excited for him.
We're definitely all excited for him, and hopefully this will be the breaking out point going forward. But along those lines, with A.J. Brown, what do you think would be a fair contract deal, and when do you think that they might potentially get this thing done, if this year at all?
I mean, I think they'll get it done. I think J-Rob wants to get it done, but as far as what your fair market value for A.J. Brown, I mean, he doesn't have the elite speed that some of these guys got, but he's got the heart, and he produces. The only thing I'm kind of afraid of is he has been injured. I mean, we look in the mirror. It's no disrespect to him, but 17 games a lot. I don't expect all these guys to play every game of a 17-game schedule, but he's missed his fair share of games, and he's played in games where he's been injured too. So, he's fought through a lot of that. And so as far as an actual payment plan for him, I mean, I would definitely make him a top 10 wide receiver. Where that fits, I'll leave that up to J-Rob.
And it'll definitely be an interesting situation going forward. I've already covered this extensively in previous shows. I have said I'd put him in the top 5 when it comes to receivers, but I really look along the lines at his third down completion percentage, which he's the best in the league at. So that reason I'd pay him top 5 money, but I'd give him more incentive base. So if he could stay more healthy, if he could, score the most touchdowns in a season or get the most receiving yards in a season, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd be more than willing.
Drops too. I mean, he's not a perfect receiver, but for us, he's probably the best receiver in our history, I would say. I mean, you can put him up there with Derek Mason. I mean, he's produced when he's out there too. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, Pro Bowl. Just push come to shove. He played pretty well in that playoff game last year against the Ravens in the first quarter, and then the whole team kind of fell apart afterward. But that's you put a physical corner man to man. I remember we played the Saints, He had like 1 catch for 7 yards. Those are the ones that scare me if he doesn't get a little bit of help on that opposite side. So I think for me personally, I'm more concerned of, you got Woods. Who's going to be that third piece for that receiving core to go along with him? And I think that to me is more intriguing than if he gets paid or not, because like I said, I do think he'll be out there, and eventually J-Rob will, before the season starts, I think he'll definitely give him his extension.
Potentially that piece could be in the draft, or they could sign him in free agency. When or where, we won't know. But it surely will happen very quick.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, Upload and I are going to talk about our picks for this upcoming draft. We're not going to bore you with a 7-round draft. You ain't got time for that. It's 10 o'clock. You want to go to bed. I get it. Upload's tired. I get it. So we're going to pick the one pick that everybody wants to talk about, 26. Upload will talk his guy. I'll talk my guy. Hopefully you'll like them both. I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour, and we'll be back in 30 seconds. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming to you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop. Thank you for joining us on this Monday night. I can't say evening, it's technically night because my girls are in bed, so we'll just say it's night. Joining us tonight is the famous Titan Upload. It is wonderful to have you on the show, buddy. We've been trying to get you on for a little while, but thank you for taking the time and getting on here tonight. We know you've got a lot of great things coming up for this upcoming season, you and, of course, the Titan Upload Network. Anything you'd like to share?
No, we're excited about the draft. We're kind of getting ready to plug that in, and I know it's pick 26 this year, but we don't have a 2nd-round pick. But I still very interested in see what John Robinson will do to complete this roster. And like you said, you know what? If it doesn't get done in the draft, there's still some guys still out there that the Titans could go and make us better. So this is what it's all about. Let the Browns and some Jacksonville Jaguars and Colts go out and think they're the next best thing from what they've done in the offseason. We just go out during the season with Coach Vrabel, Coach of the Year, I might add, and just take care of business one game at a time. So, yeah. But, hey, I'm excited to be here and finally, I know you've been trying to get me on and some things have come up here or there, but, hey, we almost got derailed by a washer tonight, so we've overcome that, so we're good to go.
It just rattled you, but it didn't get you down. So
no.
The washing machine did not put Titan Upload on the DL, so we're good. And I'll just go ahead and give a shout out real quick. Make sure you check out Upload on all his pages. He's on Twitter, he's on Facebook, he's on Instagram at Titan Upload. Make sure you check out all the stuff. Doing great stuff. Loved when he did the Final Four. We got to watch a little bit of that. Did a great job on that, by the way. Got to throw a shout out at you on that.
Hey, we try to be the jack of all trades here at our channel. We got a cool. Me and the kids are going to be doing a peep challenge, so to speak, coming up. So we bought a bunch of variety of peeps. I'm not a peep guy, but the kids are excited about it. So we're going to try to do that in the next couple weeks as well.
All right, you got a Power Hour exclusive, Titan Upload, doing the peep challenge. You will definitely want to check out his show. You do not want to miss it. That is an exclusive right here. You won't get anywhere else. And don't forget, everybody, if you love the show, help it grow. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at the Power Hour 615. We're doing all these fun stuff, and we're getting all these great guests in, and it's because of your support that we do it. You love the show, help it grow. That's what we do. Well, what do you say, Upload? Let's go ahead and jump in this. Throwing it up on the little screen, and of course, the big question is, with the 26th pick of the NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans will select, and I will do mine first. So my biggest concern with the Titans is, of course, Ryan Tannehill. Can he continue to find a way to get out of the slump that he has been in? And while they've been going back and forth trying to add weapons and find better personnel around him, the one key thing I feel like they're not addressing enough is the offensive line. If the man can't sit in the pocket and throw, then I think that's going to be the biggest problem. And I just have gone over so much game film at just how uncomfortable someone has looked in the pocket and just run for their lives. And it was nauseating at times just looking at it. So I have to think to myself, what is the best piece to put in this draft? So I take a lesson from John Robinson's draft last year. They scrapped the entire secondary to basically rebuild it from scratch. So is this kind of what's going to happen this year? I kind of get that vibe. And I think it's a good thing. I think along those lines, you have to put some solid talent in there. Now, regardless, though Mike Vrabel's not somebody that seems like he wants to start a youngin at the offensive line, I do think there are some guys that can make that connection. I think there's some guys they are looking at right now and they're like, they're NFL ready. So the best fit right here at 26, in my opinion, is Zion Johnson. I love the fact that he can play guard with just no pressure on him. He'd only given up 1 sack last year, so I absolutely love that stat. And he's versatile. When he wasn't playing left guard, he was playing left tackle. So, like a lot of offensive linemen that John Robinson go after, they're versatile. And his work ethic, his hands, his feet work, everything about this kid, I feel he is predominantly NFL ready. You put him in this NFL line, you plug him, he's ready to go.
I like the pick that, I mean, they got to go offensive line, but the only challenge, I mean, how many mock drafts have you done so far?
On show or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh,
I mean, it doesn't matter. Probably done a fair share, right?
I've done enough mock drafts to probably cover the next decade.
but when you get to the 3rd and 4th round, don't you always seem to have a decent offensive guy there, offensive line guy, whether it be a tackle or a guard, just like staring you down in the face, and you're like, oh, if I would have only known.
That's a great point, too. I mean, in a lot of these, you definitely have guys that popped up. You're like, oh, man, he was there. Or I could have gone this way. Or maybe I could have traded back. I mean, of course, that's just the scenarios we all have to go through. Yeah. I mean, when this thing really goes on, none of that matters.
No.
I mean, you're basically going to do whatever you need to do to get your guy. And on most people's big boards, there's usually 3 or 4 guys marked. If they don't get the one, they're going to be ready for the next one. So you bring up a great point as this is a deep offensive line draft. I think it's probably one of the best ones in maybe the last 4 or 5 years.
That's good.
And really along those lines, do I want to risk missing out on a potential Pro Bowl caliber player? And I see that in Zion Johnson. Just looking at the very little film that I've had the opportunity to watch, I love the way that he can get to the ball. I love the way he gets to his blocker. I love the way that he moves and just pancakes people. And in my mind, I feel like he is the best guard in this draft. And the fact that he's fallen this low is just criminal.
Yeah.
So
he can play center too, can he?
He's never played center at Boston College. He played left guard and left tackle. Okay. A lot of left tackle, I think, in 2020.
It was Kenyon Green I was thinking of.
Green did play, I think, both guard positions and center.
Okay.
Even Tyler Linderbaum, I've heard some analysts say that he could play guard if they needed him to. So that was an interesting pick that I thought about, but I don't think he's going to make it all the way down to 26.
Yeah. You could see someone trading up, too, that really needs help. And who knows, maybe we're that trade partner. I'm sure we'll get to this at some point, but I think John Robinson, you got to have a trade partner. I think that's probably the most thing we need to realize, but I could see the Titans there might be 3 or 4 or 5 guys sitting there, and we're all hoping that they take a certain one, and then we get the report that they're trading out. Just hope they don't trade too far back in that second round. I mean, maybe they could trade back to 32 in the first round, something like that. But I mean, Kansas City, maybe they want to trade up for a wide receiver, especially if like that Sky guy's there from Western Michigan. But I think at the end of the day, John probably wants to get more picks because of that second round loss, but who knows?
And that's a good point. I mean, Kansas City's definitely a trade partner. Green Bay could be a trade partner. I know that they're extensively trying to either potentially find an offensive lineman or a wide receiver in this draft. And they definitely have the draft capital to do it.
They do.
So along those lines, I feel if you're going to help rebuild what Ryan Tannehill is trying to accomplish and get him to where you need him to get, you got to go offensive line in my mind. But that's just me, and I know you gave me your pick, and I'll let you go ahead and break it down. And it's interesting because I felt in this draft, with the quarterback situation, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
So I definitely have to ask for you, Upload. What was the selling point here that Desmond Ridder was going to be the guy for Tennessee?
Oh, man.
And I say that just with sheer curiosity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just trying to put myself in the Titans to give you the best quality pick that I think they're going to make. And, I mean, you could go back to some of my previous shows where I tried to warn, and I use that word very strongly, I should say, as a warn, because we have probably, I would say, 60-some% of Titan fans. They want the new shiny car as far as like the wide receiver. I would say the wide receiver. There's no tight end that's going to fit right at 26, but there are some wide receivers. Just go back to last year. I mean, they were just unbelievably wanting a wide receiver. And then when they picked Farley, like, I was thrilled. I was excited. And I think that's going to pay off this year finally. But I know a lot of people are upset about it, and heaven forbid them pick an offensive lineman yet again, Michael. We've tried that twice now in the past 2 drafts, first round and a second round. At least the second round guy, Radens, is still on the team. That's a positive. But they're picking at 26, and I kind of already showed my card earlier, so I'm putting myself in this perspective. Now, Ridder may go. I mean, there's been a lot of talk with Pittsburgh, and he's been getting floated around. I got a couple of guys coming on that are going to, give me their top 32 as first round entirety. And there's one guy, he doesn't even make it out of like the top 15 picks. So I think it just depends. And you know this too. Everybody loves quarterbacks.
Of course.
Even when they're not qualified, they still love to pick them. And they love to pick them early. So that would give me some hesitation that the Titans would even be able to make this move. But if he falls down the draft board and he's sitting there at 26, we know the connection to Vrabel, the head coach, being like the best friend and stuff. You know they put a lot of research in these guys. They've already kind of foreshadowed it, haven't they? I mean, they've said it to a certain degree. We're going to look at all these guys. Quarterback was one they definitely mentioned. And I think a lot of us are saying, well, Ryan Tannehill, we still have that civil war going on. It reminds me almost of Marcus Mariota a few years ago. But I think at 26, you get that 5th-year option. He's not going to play this year. I mean, he might play a little bit. And it don't matter what quarterback they take at 26. It may not be Ridder. But I think that 5th-year option, you follow the mold of what the Ravens did a few years ago. I mean, at least sell it where a team gets really afraid and they want to trade up. So, but the reason why I think he fits is he does have some concerns. His accuracy is kind of hit or miss. Does remind me of Marcus Mariota a little bit, so you take that with a grain of salt. A lot of people compare him to Ryan Tannehill, and he compared himself to those two as well. So maybe he wants to go to Atlanta. Maybe he wants to go to Tennessee. But I think he's ready. He's faced some tough competition. he's been a winner at Cincinnati. He's put Cincinnati on the map, and I love winners. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of excited for the future. Ryan Tannehill really let me down in the playoffs. I know he's rolling with him. I'm fine. I know he's been working hard, and he's been watching a lot of game tape. Shout out to Titans Rossi for using his source and getting that information to us. But when you're talking about pick 26, I think we all would agree with you. They should go offensive line. I think the fans are going to want him to go wide receiver. I just think push come to shove, they're going to pull a fast one on us and take Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati if he's there. I'll be shocked if they pass on him.
And with that said, I mean, with every quarterback, it's just a coin flip. We don't know if they're going to hit. We don't know if they're going to miss. Is Ridder going to be the guy? Can he be the quarterback that Tennessee Titans are hoping that could have like Patrick Mahomes' instincts and get us over the hill? So I guess my biggest question is Ridder worth that risk, or is it worth waiting another year and potentially trying to go after one of the other quarterbacks coming in the 2023 draft, which is going to be quarterback heavy?
I think again, you mentioned it, but I think they fall in love. You said 3 guys. One of them's a quarterback. This came out a few years ago, and we often forget. Came from somewhere. It had to come from somewhere. Remember when the draft was in Nashville? That afternoon, Drew Lock, the news broke, the Titans were very heavily thinking Drew Lock. And a lot of us were like comical about it because we're like, how could you have Marcus Mariota lead the draft off by going up on stage and kicking this thing off, and yet you're going to replace him during that draft? So luckily we didn't take him, and we took a monster defensive lineman that we all love, and Big Jeff. But there was a lot of talk that we were going to take Drew Lock. Ryan Tannehill was never brought here, I don't think, to be the guy for the next 10 years. Some people don't even think you're just basically a kind of a shot in the dark to maybe do something. And he's done it. I'm not selling Tannehill short. I like Ryan Tannehill. But my question to you and everyone else is, with this team being a Super Bowl ready team, can they get over the hump with Ryan Tannehill? And if the answer is no, well, then you got to start thinking. If you're not going to trade and you don't have the capital to get the Russell Wilson or anything like that, then you got to take a shot in the dark. And hopefully it's more than a shot in the dark in the draft and do what Kansas City did. Remember, Kansas City had Alex Smith. I think we can all agree at the time, Alex Smith was a pretty good quarterback. He wasn't great, but he was good. And he was getting the team to the playoffs. They just couldn't go any further. Question is that where we're at with Ryan Tannehill? And then the other thing is Derrick Henry. Because how much longer can Derrick Henry go at Derrick Henry where he is? Or is he going to hit that 30-year mark and start to slow down a little bit? So, again, I love Derrick, and I think he'd go a few years more for sure, but we'll have to see how this all plays out. But it's never too early to throw your hat in the ring. The problem with it is, though, this ain't going to happen this year. So this would be next year. Even Alex Smith played that entire year out. Remember, we beat him in the playoffs. Mariota threw a pass to himself, a touchdown to himself. So we got to keep that in mind, too. This is probably a stash away. But you don't have that second-round pick, which does make it a little bit difficult for me to think that they would actually do it. But if you love your guy, you're going to take him.
And that's a great point. But I guess the biggest question I have to ask, and I think this does kind of set the precedence also for the future of even the coaching staff, is this a Tim Kelly guy?
I mean, the Tim Kelly thing, we're never going to know. Vrabel will cover that up like he did with Schwartz this year on the defense. I do think Schwartz helped the defense. Do you agree with me on there?
I'd say it's really kind of more the lines of maybe a 60-40 kind of situation.
Yeah,
I'd give Schwartz the 60.
Yeah, I mean, Vrabel will never do that. You know what I mean? he won't even mention his name. And I think that frustrates the heck out of like Paul Gaharski. But offensively, what do we have the weapons? You know, and you got A.J. Brown. We don't have a solid option other than Derrick Henry at running back long term. So is this a draft too where, I mean, I wouldn't think you could do it with so many holes on the offensive line. I mean, you still could use another tight end, but is this the one where you're going to take, you know, a quarterback and then you come back in round 3 and take the best running back on the board? I mean, I don't know. I've studied the running backs. They're kind of like all over the place as well, besides the top guys. The guy out of Florida getting a lot of steam, but it's very intriguing. So if you're a Titans fan and you're not excited about the draft, gosh, this is where the fun part happens. Because it's like drama. You have no idea what's going to happen.
And it will definitely be a big bombshell, I think, if Tennessee does go quarterback. Do a lot of people expect it? Right now, probably not. But I think just as it goes, it's really going to be a situation of what the Titans feel like is the most important thing going forward. Is it building?
Starting to put some pressure? Colts. The Colts have that second round pick. They're starting to get their feet in the water a little bit with Ritter. Telling you, if Vrabel loves this guy, I wouldn't even be shocked. What would you, if the Titans moved up to like 20 with Pittsburgh and then take a quarterback? I mean, I think it's stupid, but I still see him doing it.
I mean, I would hope we have enough to fill in the offensive line and add a safety and maybe a tight end, but, you know.
Yeah.
We can do that with undrafted free agents, which J-Rob and Mike Vrabel are basically the kings of doing that. So, along those lines, if you're going to make that investment in a quarterback, you better hope that you're getting a Patrick Mahomes and not a Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Which, Kirk Cousins is fine if you like winning games, 8 or 9 of them at least.
Got to start thinking of a long-term answer, though, for Tannehill. I mean, so you said next year. I could see that. I definitely could see them taking one next year for sure, if it's not a little bit early this year. Because I would even agree, even though I think they could do this for sure, I'm not saying I would do it, especially with, like you mentioned, with the offensive line. I think that's more of the safer pick, too, is to go offensive line, especially a guard that can play multiple spots on your offensive line. Give you a little bit more insurance if Radens can't make it. And Ben Jones is getting old. So it's like, how many more years can Ben Jones make it at the offensive line? So it just seems like that's where they should go. Last year, we all thought they would go wide receiver because, our wide receiver, we didn't have Julio Jones at the time. Wide receiver core was kind of a mess at that. We didn't know. So you just never know when it comes to Titans.
It's definitely going to be a very interesting draft going forward, but I'll just bring up a quick point. Next year, I'd be more than willing to give up 4 years of first-round draft picks to get either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. So,
yeah,
you've heard that here first.
I don't see him doing that one.
I don't, but I'm just saying I would. That's just me.
Maybe Washington or the Colts.
Somebody's going to give up 4. Eventually, somebody's going to give up 4 for somebody. So,
yeah.
So, will it be the Titans? Probably not. But
no,
it's worth a shot. I'll throw that out there, J-Rob, if you're listening. All right, guys, we'll take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, I've got a Q&A for our good buddy Titan Upload. Didn't make them too hard questions, so you're in good shape. I'm Michael Bishop with the Power, and we'll be back in 30 seconds.
What-oh, looks like somebody's bored. Oh no, what to do on such a lazy day? Well, guess what? I've got a great suggestion for you to help you stop boredom. And that's follow the Power Hour on TikTok. And guess what? We'll be bringing back our daily PowerPoint videos, so you can check those out daily. So just do it and find us on TikTok at the Power Hour 615.
The Power
Love
Hours.
the ads, by the way. Those are cool.
I appreciate it, man. I just like keeping people amused. You got to keep people amused when you're catching your breath for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So, but this is the Power Hour, and I am your host, Michael Bishop, and joining us tonight is Titan Upload. Thank you very much once again for joining us on the show tonight. We're having a great time.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. I'm sorry that was a little bit late today for those of you that just tuned in. So.
He had a serious washing machine error, as we'll call it.
I hope
so,
it was an error. Gosh.
It was a battle, and it wasn't a very pretty battle, but he won. He's standing right now, so we know how that went down.
Yeah.
But it happens, man. I mean,
5 years, though. 5 years.
That's gone. I mean, you got 5 years out of it. That's pretty good. Most people can't get maybe 2 out of it because they overload the things. Yes, you can overload a washer, people. This is a real thing.
Yeah.
We also teach you on the show, so don't overload your washer. And a cup's worth of soap, not a bottle.
Not a bottle.
Not a bottle. The more you know. Rainbow.
Yeah.
All right, Titan Upload. I definitely wanted to do a little something different since you're a first-timer here, and I wanted to do something. Just kind of a simple Q&A sesh. Just a little one-on-one time. Just that I can get some info out to all the fans. Let them know a little about the softer side of Titan Upload. So let's go ahead and hit it with our Q&A with Titan Upload. So, of course, my first question will be the simple one. How did you become a Titans fan?
Well, you know, when they made the AFC Championship game, I felt like, hey, perfect. No, kidding. I was born in Houston, so I grew up an Oiler fan, and then obviously we moved to Illinois when I was pretty small. So I just used it as, well, the Oilers wanted to move closer to me, so I ended up moving to Nashville, and now we've been season ticket holders since the Titans drafted Marcus Mariota. We got him, I mean, dirt cheap, lower. It's in the bowl. We're like the lower bowl, 13 rows from the field. PSLs, both of them combined were $500, so $250 a seat, lower level. I was like, wow, that's too good to pass up. So it's been rocky, 2015, 16. I mean, we've had some difficult years.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, it's been well worth it. And now the only frustrating part is we're kind of in a fish out of water situation with the team moving in possibly to this new stadium. So, I mean, is that all for naught with the PSLs? I'm assuming we'll have to buy new ones, but I hope at least we get first dibs on them because that would be a catastrophe. A lot of money just wasted, honestly.
Agreed. But along those lines, I do hope, especially with the new stadium going forward, they kind of do like an integration of like Oilers history and Titans history a little better with this situation going forward. I have
a dome, so I just hope it's not like Edwards Jones Dome in St. Louis. Gosh, I've been there. Place is just like a warehouse. I mean, I hope it's a little bit more than just that with a dome. I hope they get a little bit creative.
Yeah, you got to have a little creativity in it. I mean, you can't just throw down just turf and call it a football stadium. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
People want to be entertained and have something pretty to look at and be proud of. So take that to the bank. Getting to question 2, who was or is your all-time favorite Titan? Or Oiler?
Okay. So it's definitely one, but there's a close second. Okay, and I think they kind of go together, so it's almost like peanut butter and jelly, right?
Right.
And that's obviously for me was Eddie George. I mean, Eddie George, from the time when I was in high school and when he was drafted out of Ohio State, I was so thrilled. I mean, yes, I was an Illinois fan and I saw him run all over the Illini. He had like 300 and some yards that game. But at the end of the day, when he was a Titan, it was amazing. We got to actually, my parents took me down. It was around Thanksgiving. It was their last year at the stadium in the Astrodome. Played the Panthers. So we got to see Eddie George in his rookie year. That was very cool. Even though the Titans got killed in that game, or the Oilers, it was a cool experience. There was only 10,000, so you could sit anywhere you want. Got a really cool story, but I'll try to sum it up. My mom went, back then you had to call, so you couldn't go online. So she called and called and called, and she ended up getting front row, 50-yard seats,
Wow.
Oilers sideline. So excited. We get there. You can't see anything. Based on where it was and the proximity where the players were standing, that's all you saw was their backs. You couldn't see anything. So with only 10,000 people in the stadium, they didn't care. You could walk around, sit wherever you wanted. And so we went and sat in like the corner of the end zone and I don't know, about 5 to 10 rows off the field. So it was a boring game, but it was still cool to see Eddie George. And like I said, Steve McNair, those two brought this Tennessee Titans team to life their first year down there in the Coliseum and took us to our only Super Bowl. It's just a shame Curse couldn't have been just a little bit faster, because I know the Titans would have went down and at least got a field goal to win the game. So, yeah, Eddie George, by far. Called Jeff Fisher's show one time, wished him a happy birthday, and I said he deserved it. I was freezing up. I was so scared, but it was just, yeah. So that would be my dream, to have Eddie George on the show sometime, and who knows? Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But he's definitely by far my favorite Titan. And Steve McNair is a very close 1A to George, 1B to Steve McNair.
Definitely no argument on that situation, and more than likely, you'll get Eddie on the show. You're Titan Upload. You got that clout. Don't judge yourself like that.
I don't know.
You'll get there. All right, question 3. When was your first Titans game? Or I guess
it would have been the second year they were in the Coliseum. Again, we had to call to get seats. So we couldn't even get seats together. How sad was this? So me and my buddy Kurt went down there, and we had obstructed view. So I think it was right above like the 20-yard line on the upper deck, probably like 5 rows from the top. Oh my gosh. But we brought my buddy, Rhett, who bought it from a scalper. So he was in the lower bowl, and it was cool. So he let me and my friend go down there for a quarter. So I wandered down there. Eddie George had 3 touchdowns in that game, but just the experience, it was amazing to be lower level with all those Titan fans. And it was just electric back then. I mean, it's getting to that point again, but man, 2001, or would have been the 2000 season, I should say. There was no other feeling than that. Way different from when I went to obviously the Oilers, but yeah. So it was Cleveland Browns, and like I said, it was you couldn't even sit next to my buddy. But it was still a lot of fun.
You were definitely bringing the good vibes. Eddie getting 3 touchdowns.
Oh, that was awesome. I mean, I didn't play fantasy football, but that started to kick off around that time. And I was like, wow, if I only had Eddie George on my fantasy team. My buddy played, so followed it a little bit. Played like probably 3-4 seasons down the road.
I wish I could get into fantasy. I just can't. I think I'm bad luck. That's why I stay away from it. Anytime I've ever played, Tennessee does bad, so I just stay away from it. We get into question 4. Name one NFL player, current or retired, that you would have liked to see play in two-tone blue.
It's a good question. I mean, I'm trying to think of outside of the box, someone that Okay, I'm gonna put one up. You're probably not gonna like it. I don't care, but it is what it is. So,
hey, it's a question. Throw it at me.
I would say you might be shocked on this one. I'd say Tim Tebow. Put him down in Nashville. Let him do his thing. Man, I would have loved to have seen that. Again, I was a huge Tebow guy. Not so much him coming back to Jacksonville, but his time in Denver. I know he couldn't throw to save his life at one time, but he still was a winner, and I think even Bronco fans would admit he was a winner. And when he went to the Jets, it was just a catastrophe. I think it was right around that time. I was like, hey, when we're going through all the crappy quarterbacks we were going through, why not just let him out there and do a cool few things here or there? So, yeah, I would say Tim Tebow.
With that era in quarterbacks that we had, not so much shocked, but more intrigued. Because it was pretty substandard. So I think at that point I probably would have welcomed it. Especially maybe just the attention.
He was like I said, it was really tough because like a lot of the games he wouldn't even throw for like 100 yards, it seemed like, but yet they were still there ready to win the game. And I think Denver didn't really, that was at the time too, where like, I don't think Elway really wanted him on the team, but he was more or less forced to support him because he kept, and I was just hoping and they were going to go into New England and win that, the divisional game, because I think things would have been a little bit different. When he went to the Jets, I mean, he didn't get a fair chance there at all. So it was disappointing to see the whole thing come to a crashing end. But I do respect the guy, and he's still doing great things, obviously, with his charity organizations. But like I said, I would have loved to see him in Nashville. Because, I mean, if you had a solid piece to go with him, I think you could have used him like the Saints use Hill. So...
I mean, that would have definitely made for more interesting football in Tennessee. I mean, especially at that time. So, I mean, you could have went Tom Brady. You could have went Peyton Manning. But you chose Tim Tebow. Titan Upload is different, and that's why he's successful, because he thinks outside the box, folks. That
I didn't even, like,
that is genuine.
Those guys were going to, you know what I mean? I didn't even really think about the Hall of Famers. I mean, you know how close we were to getting Randy Moss. I mean, we did get him when he was out of his career, but I mean, we took Dyson instead of him. We had him right there. How things would have been different.
We almost
would
got
have
Peyton
won
Manning.
a Super Bowl right now, so that is a little concerning. But I guess I was thinking of guys.
I was going to let you have anybody.
Oh, okay.
Anybody on the table, I promise. Like, if you wanted Peyton Manning back in 2012.
Manning was never my favorite player. I guess that's the way I took this question. Favorite player outside of the Titans, you would like to see him in two-tone blue.
Just any player you wanted, but we got a great answer out of it anyway, so it's a win. Like I said, Tebow back then would have been fine with me.
Hey, thank you.
And then we'll get to question 5, our final question. If the Titans make the Super Bowl this upcoming year, which NFC team would you like them to play against?
I'm just going to show you because I feel like this would be a lot easier. All right, you ready for this?
We're getting a reveal. So
can they see me or no?
They can see you. You're right on the little screen.
All right, here we go.
All right, we're going.
For people that follow me, you'll know what's coming. Just because this game would mean more than anything. And we better win. By the way, if we lose this game, then this is not the team I wanted to see us play in the Super Bowl. Are you ready for this one?
Go for it. He's going with the Bears.
Yeah, with me being 2 hours from Chicago. And my family being Bear fans, my dad's a huge Bear fan. And a lot of people talk so much trash. Me being a teacher, and predominantly most of the kids in high school that I teach at love the Bears. That would be the almighty win your first Super Bowl against a team that keeps throwing the 1985 Bears in your face every day of the week. So yeah, give me the Chicago Bears, but we better win.
I don't think right now that wouldn't be too hard, but especially since the Bears might be moving to Arlington Heights. At least Nashville's moving just far off, just fairly.
Yeah, remember, the team growing up as a kid. I think it was 98. Played them at Vanderbilt, the Bears. Oh, this is the game I want. Eddie George ran crazy, by the way. We go to get the game-winning field goal or the game-tying field goal. And it would have been the Oilers, Tennessee, have 2 kickers on the field. 2 kickers on the field. One, I think Hendrick ran out, and Del Greco was out there, and they're like lost. I don't even know if we got a kickoff. And that's how the game ended. I mean, and then we played them again in 05 or 04 at Nissan Stadium, which would have been called the Adelphia Coliseum, or I think Adelphia. I don't think it was LP Field yet.
No, it was Adelphia.
We played the Bears in over. We were terrible. We had Billy Volek, Drew Bennett going crazy in that game. We went to overtime. We lost by a safety. Our Volek got tackled in the end zone. Game over. I mean, you play the Bears, you just get crazy games. We've won a few, but me and my dad went to watch them play in '08 in Soldier Field. Titans were undefeated at the time. I think after that game they were 9-0, and some Bear guy, as we were walking back to the car, it was snowing. I mean, my dad's in his Bears outfit. I'm in my Titans outfit. Not bothering anybody. But someone comes in my face, stands in my way. He wants to throw down and fight me because I'm a Titans fan. And I just, give me the Chicago Bears Super Bowl any day of the week, and let's destroy them.
He's definitely want to rub it in the faces of a hometown faithful. Can't say I don't blame him.
Yep, I'm throwing some Cub fans in there too.
Ooh, throwing daggers. That's okay. They deserve that. They've took it for 108 years.
Yep.
Upload, come on now. I know. That ain't hurting me none. Oh, that would be an interesting Super Bowl. I mean, especially just the hometown ties there. I mean, God, it's been forever since the Bears have been in any kind of Super Bowl. So, I mean, the Titans should win it. Not trying to sound cocky, but I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, the Titans do have a chance to go to the Super Bowl this year, right? I mean, I know we're not going to get any media support. It doesn't bother me. They're already pumping everybody else up, even the Colts. But I do think the Titans' pass rush has me intrigued. They were very good last year. I think they're going to be just as good this year. Bud Dupree's going to be a little healthier. It's just, can Caleb Farley? I'll ask you real quick. What do you think of Caleb Farley going into year 2 coming off those injuries?
I mean, I've said this a couple of times on a bunch of previous shows. If Caleb Farley can be like an Ed Reed type player and just be a ball hawk, my God, this defense would be terrifying. They could win a Super Bowl with just defense if that were the case.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot of ifs and woulda, couldas, but, I mean, J-Rob took the shot at him. They see something in him. I mean, he was arguably one of the best corners at that time before his stock dropped. So, if he can live up to the billing, I mean, this defense could just carry this whole team.
Yeah. I mean, let's hope. I mean, it paid off for Big Jeff. I mean, you know what I mean? He actually threw him in a lot faster than I thought they would. But, he's lived up, and he's been a class act for the Titans. So, thrilled to have him. But this defense, I mean, that pass rush, they're nasty now. So, you're right. You give Farley more ball hawk skills, can turn into almost like a Jalen Ramsey out there and just annihilate whoever's out there. Yeah, this defense, as long as Christian Fulton, keeps his stuff going, I'm very intrigued with the defense.
That's all it would take. Just one guy that could just be the ball hawk that we need him to be. And Ryan Harris brings up a good point about last Chicago game when Lindale and CJ had 5 yards rushing, and I do remember that game. The running game just was god-awful.
I think that was the game I was at. Bo Scaife scored a touchdown, and I think Lindell's had a 1-yard touchdown. I'm pretty sure that game is what I think it was 08. CJ didn't have any yards.
No, he was really just not hitting the offensive line holes that they were building. So
Rex Grossman almost tearing us up for a little bit.
Wow, say that in a sentence and try and believe that. Well, Upload, do you think you could stay for 10 more minutes? One
Sure.
more segment? All right. We got them for 10 more minutes, y'all. We'll take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, we'll have a quick one-on-one debate. Just a nice topic that I found that I think would make for good conversation. So take a quick 30-second break and a drink of water. I'm Michael Bishop with the Power, and we'll be back in 30 seconds. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming to you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I am your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining us on this Monday night. And yes, don't forget, folks, in 10 days, the Power Hour Draftacular will happen at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be covering all the first-round picks going forward. We will have a slew of guests to talk about everything football and Titans related. Going to keep it a fun night, so got to get that out there. Check us out. 10 days. You don't want to miss it. Joining us on the show tonight is our buddy Titan Upload. Wonderful again to have you on the show, man. It's been so much fun. We definitely know you got a lot of cool stuff coming up, especially for the upcoming football season, so we thank you for giving us your time tonight.
No, it's been awesome. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. You got a really cool show, and like I said, you well thought out, well planned, well rehearsed, and I love the advertisement. It just gives it more of a pretty cool production feel, so shout out to you with the creativity.
I appreciate that. And once again, guys, don't forget, on your way out of the show, make sure you check out Titan Upload stuff, but before you go there, make sure you hit the like button and ring the bell for more content on your way out. For all my YouTube watchers. All right, Upload, let's hit the little screen for one more time. And I felt it would be a good way to finish a show with a nice evening debate. Usually I like perusing through Twitter and Facebook and finding pretty good conversations of interest or good just key pieces to make a note of. And just have a one-on-one debate. So, really 4 days ago, I came across this one on Twitter from the good people at Pro Football Talk. And it came out as this: no prospect should attend the draft without an appearance fee. Why be an unpaid prop in a TV show from which the NFL generates significant profit? Most of the kids are brainwashed by the idea of the honor of it's an honor, it's exploitation. And I've got a lot I could start with that, but since you're the guest, I will let you have the first take of that. So, from that statement, how do you feel that should be conveyed? Is it exploitation?
No. It's terrible. It's just trying to stir the pot and say, if you agree to this, then you're saying that A.J. Brown can be traded to the New York Jets any day now, and you're buying into this. This goes back to the Titans are for sale, with Jason La Canfora and all that crap. At the end of the day, this is your job. You get to find out which team is going to invest all their money and their future in you. It should be an honor. If you don't want to attend, fine, don't attend. Do it at home, do whatever. But walking across the stage, shaking your hand with your future boss or whatever, and then getting a jersey, you get the little interview. If anything, you are getting a golden opportunity to get your name out there. People are going to buy jerseys. They're going to buy merchandise with your name on it. You get to show a likable side for people that don't know you. Believe it or not, there are probably a lot of people that don't exactly know everything about all these draft picks that are going to get drafted. Not everybody watches college football as in-depth as everybody. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people love the NFL, and that's just what they'll watch. They don't care about anything else. They watch the NFL. So this is a perfect way for them to get their name out there. And just, like I said, it should be something the people dreamed about walking across that stage. Tired of this crap. Everything's money, money, money. Next thing you're going to know, high school kids, junior high kids are going to want to get paid for A's. And it's not a road we want to go down upon. So I totally disagree with this statement. You're going to agree with it, aren't you?
Not at all. In fact, really along the lines, I don't know why they think this, because for most of the kids that go to the draft, just about everything's comped for them. Their hotels are. It's arranged by their agents. This is basically just a job interview that's basically with results.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to a show. You're introducing yourself to the world upon which whatever team drafts you. Then you're going around Media Avenue and doing the rounds. You're introducing yourself, why you're representing this team, what you think you're bringing to this team. You're selling yourself. And not only for that, but there is money involved, but for potential people willing to sign you for endorsement deals. Not every player that comes into this thing has already signed an endorsement deal. Sometimes, usually after they get drafted, that happens later. But along those lines, it's not like it's an exploitation thing. They're invited. They invite these kids to be there to experience it. And if they want to stay home and do it, then that's fine as well. If they want to keep it personal and small with closer people and just not make a big deal out of it, that's fine. I've kind of encouraged anyone that wants to do that it's more of an intimate setting. But along the lines, these guys are already getting paid. As soon as they walk in the door, they're going to do the things that they need to do to get ready for the season. They're going to shake hands with the owner. They're going to take pictures. They're going to talk to the media. They're going to get photos with their uniform on. It's a selling point. They're going to get their money regardless, whether through it be the team, whether through it be endorsements. This is just a show. It's not like it's not like they have to make anything off of it. Most of the guys showing up wearing these $1,000 suits and $1,000 worth of jewelry are usually comped or gifts from like certain people. So it's not like they're missing out on anything.
I just think it's 4:14:22, 8:41 p.m. boredom. Just throw something out, see if it sticks. A lot of these places, the more you look into, do this kind of thing just to generate some buzz for their own platform. And what is it, Florio or whatever his name? I don't think he's any different here. I think that's what he's doing. It's a pretty big stretch though.
And I don't mind people wanting to put any kind of debate out there. I mean, that's just what makes it an interesting question, or really an interesting statement. I don't have to agree with it. I mean, the fact that you and I just sat and just discussed it just basically says that it's just 2 against 1 at this kind of statement.
Yeah.
So along those lines, it's just one of these deals where we both feel it's a situation, if they want to make money off of it, they're coming in the wrong mindset. I mean, there's plenty of money out there for those kids if they want to get it. Why do it in an event that's supposed to be intimate and supposed to be just something that you'll only experience once?
True, and you'll never get it back. So, like I said, it's a one-time shining moment, and once it's gone, it's gone. So that's the way I view it. And if you want to pass on it, you're not being forced or fined. So, be with your family. Do what you're going to remember down the road. You know what I'm saying? What means the most to you? You remember the whole Isaiah Wilson thing. The only thing we'll remember from that episode is his mom pulling his girlfriend off of him. So, oh gosh.
That was so bad.
It wasn't going to end well.
If you could only go back with what you know now. But like you said, there's plenty of opportunities for these young men to make money. This is just an interview and just a meet and greet on a bigger scale. So if you want money out of it, you're going in with the wrong mindset. So, but I'm not opposed to anybody getting paid. If you want to get paid, go get paid, but just, do it just somewhere where cameras aren't on you. It just looks bad for you. That's a nickel's worth of free advice.
You got a lot of advice today.
I'm just throwing it out there. If anybody wants it, you pick it up and you take it. I wish I had better advice for your washing machine, but I'm not too good at that kind of thing. So,
oh man.
I mean, if I gave you any advice on how to fix it, it'd probably end up flying or something. So I'll steer away from that.
I hope it's a minimal thing, but I'm already bracing myself for gonna have to go out and buy a new one. But when your wife's about ready to give birth any day now, it just kind of makes it more of a problem than what it should be. You know what I mean?
Agreed. You've got enough on your plate, and that's just something that didn't need to get added on. So.
No, definitely not. Stupid wash.
And I do want to give out my condolences to you and your family. Hope everything goes well. We know you got the new edition coming. You got a lot on y'all's minds, and it's an exciting time. It's a nerve-wracking time. You're trying to make mama happy, and that's what matters at that point. So, been there, done that. I hope everything goes well for you, and I congratulate the both of you as well.
also congratulate you on your move to, was it Titan size? Is that where you're going now? That's an awesome honor, and you deserve it. And I wish you nothing but the best, and you'll be successful because you're a hard worker and got that creative mind. So I wish you, like I said, nothing but the best, man. Congrats.
I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you for being on the show and taking the time that you have. And I know you've been so busy. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here, and I appreciate that.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And don't forget, guys, Titan Upload. Check out his stuff. If you don't know where he is, he's on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Check out the Titan Upload Network. They've always got great stuff. Him and Rossi are always doing a lot of great stuff. And I know they will be putting out a lot of great content when the season gets started. So make sure you check out their stuff. You like it. Send them all the love you can.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate you, buddy. And everybody, I want to thank you for being here tonight and watching. I know you could have been anywhere else in the world, like I said, but hey, you chose to be here to see this bald guy talk about football with his buddy here. So I appreciate that, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Have an even better tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be talking about some good news for this contract dispute, so I promise you, don't go to sleep with that on your mind. It'll be okay.
Be okay.
There's other things going on. Just don't worry about it. J. Rob's got you. Just go to bed. I promise. All right. We thank you once again for joining us. Titan Upload, I thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out for all the YouTube viewers. And don't forget, the Draftacular will be coming in 10 days. So once again, I'm Michael Bishop with the Power Hour. Take care. Tighten up.
Tighten up.